Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast, exclusively brought to you by Ausmerican Aces. I'm your host, Adam Treloar, and obviously my great friend, best mate on the other end, Josh Dunkley. This is our 9th episode now, mate. How are you going firstly, and how do you think we're going?
G'day, mate. Thank you for the introduction. I think we're doing all right. We're chasing up a few sponsors, but looking forward to obviously another episode. And it's been great. I suppose the journey so far. Obviously, it's actually good for us because we get to talk to each other for an hour, once a week, definitely, which is awesome. So I enjoy that part of it, mate.
Yeah, speaking of sponsors, we might have had a couple send in a couple messages for those signed boots. You never know. We'll have to wait and see till later on in the episode. But
that's it.
No, you're spot on. It's I obviously love doing this, and we obviously talk about us being ourselves and showing our vulnerability. So thoroughly enjoying it. But we've got a huge week, a huge episode that we've got planned. We've continued the streak of obviously winning at the same weeks. But I guess we'll just start with you before we obviously move on to what happened to me on the weekend. But you obviously played on Friday night, and for what I believe, and I haven't even told you this yet, and we've spoken several times, post the game, I feel like it's the best game I've seen you play in Bulldogs colours and Brisbane Lions colours. So I feel like it was a complete game for you. I know you're a pretty harsh critic on yourself sometimes. Firstly, congratulations, but love to know how you felt and how you felt you went during the game as well.
Yeah, it's obviously a big moment for us, or a big night for us as a footy club. So to go out there and play the way that we did was obviously really nice. And individually, obviously, it was a pretty nice game. Obviously, I had a bit of a roll on Paddy Cripps at stoppage, so tried to negate his access, and we probably looked at their stuff a little bit and their first possession stuff, and he's a big focal point for him. So try to take that away and managed to do that, and was lucky to get on the end of a few myself. And obviously the pressure side of my game that I pride myself on, mate, that was very high, and I just wanted to play my role for the team as much as I could. And I did get a bit of a lick of the ice cream, which was nice, but still didn't manage to hit the scoreboard. So there's plenty to work on, mate. As you know, I'm always in that growth mindset of never being satisfied, and always looking to improve. So for me, probably the finishing off stuff wasn't great on the night. So I look forward to hopefully doing that this week and working through that process.
Yeah, well, you're clearly underselling how well you played. As I said, the best game I've seen you play. You've well and truly sewn in probably the 3-2 and the 1, so you might get 6 votes from the one game. But did you know that – I obviously know that you probably wouldn't have known, but they're actually calling it the quadruple double, where there's only been 7 players prior to you. You're the 8th player that has, had a quadruple double, where it's more than obviously 10 kicks, 10 handballs, 10 marks, and 10 tackles. And you've done all that obviously in the one game. How does that make you feel?
I saw Righto, our producer, sent this through. I think it was a post game, and I saw it, and I looked at the list, and I was like, oh, there's a few good names on that list. So it's a bit of an honour to be a part of that club, mate. There's only
there is. You mentioned the list. There's Scott Thompson, Joel Selwood, Brent Stanton, Ben McGlynn, Tom Rockcliffe, Corey Enright, Carl Amon. Some really good players there, ex-players and current players, and now you add yourself to that list. So, again, don't undersell yourself.
Nah, I'm not underselling myself. I just always look at the scope. I always look at the things that, you could have done better throughout a game, and I feel like my impact could have been a lot higher, or like I had an impactful game, but it could have been a lot better. I was actually chatting to Dale Morris. I spoke about him last week on the pod. He's probably lucky to get 2 shout-outs on here, but I was speaking to him, and he said, you had plenty of opportunities that I know that you would have been really angry about that you didn't take up. So those opportunities are what I was talking about. So obviously a nice game individually, but it was great to get the win as a footy club because it sets us up, for this weekend and moving forward too.
Always trying to get better. I love it. That's what makes you. But also, you mentioned no goals. I know you had 2 shots on goal. Obviously, one of them you just missed. I thought that snap went in. I was obviously watching from my hotel in Canberra, and I thought it was a goal. And then the second one was a bit of a long shot. But Can we get something here? We're all now, or now all the fans. I know all our fans listening to the potty and everyone out there who supports us wants you to kick a goal for the Brisbane Lions. Can we premeditate a celebration on the potty? Let's premeditate one. You've got to do something.
Yeah. Well, what do you want me to do?
Something.
I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Oh,
what do you think? Your celebration's the old double fist like this.
Yeah. Well,
maybe mine can be something for the podcast. Like, maybe I'll try and just like make an A or something.
I was going to say that maybe A, because it can mean Oz American Aces and it can mean ads.
All right, the Aces like this.
Could you imagine that down by 10 goals? Not that you'd ever be down, but down by 10 goals and you celebrate with an A, that'd be freaking hilarious. Yeah. Well, we've heard it here. When you do kick a goal, we need the expectation is you're going to chuck up the A sign.
All right. I'll do it. Hopefully this week. I'm looking forward to it. Let's talk about your game, mate. Obviously, went to Canberra. It was bloody freezing, wasn't it? Was it freezing cold?
It was colder as the game got going, and I reckon by the end of the second, it was really cold. And then coming out at halftime, it was very cold.
Yeah, because I was checking the weather forecast because obviously knowing that you were playing there, and I was watching on the phone because I was actually at Tipper's game in Sydney. But yeah, it looks freezing, but obviously a good win for you boys, you yourself. I want to talk to you a little bit about your injury and how you're going, because you were dominating up until then, and everything was looking good for, I think, your whole team, and obviously you were part of that midfield is a massive thing too. So to have let's talk about the first half and then go into the second half and talk about how you're feeling, and I suppose we'll go into your weekly routine and what it looks like from here.
Yeah, no, obviously, firstly, happy that we obviously won. We we always talk about on the potty, we don't take anyone lightly, which we don't at all. And the Giants have had 2 great wins prior to playing us, and obviously knocked off Sydney the week before in a great way that they did. I think right before the game, Toby Green was a massive out for them, and we'd scouted all week to obviously come up against him, and he's openly spoken about how he's one of the premier players in the competition. So that obviously helped us, didn't help them. We thought it was going to be a bit of an arm wrestle throughout the game, especially when the rain started to come. They're a very good contested ball side team, and their midfield has been really up and about recently. Tom Green is having an incredible season, and I've heard people talk about him being the next Bontempelli, and and I can see the comparison. He's an absolute gun, and he was really good on the weekend, and the Cogsy and Josh Kelly, these guys. So it was a bit of an arm wrestle up until half time, and then the fact that we were able to, we scored really well in that third. I feel like we defended really well, and we gave ourselves good opportunity. A little bit disappointed that we allowed them back into the game, towards the end of the third, and then in that last quarter they came with a flurry and, got within 8 points and a shot on goal to put them, within a kick to put them in front. But then obviously credit to our boys who stuck in there, and we were able to kick a couple more goals, and we had a couple big moments by Bont and Naughty and Chiefy down back, and Timmy English again had an awesome game. So very pumped we got the win. That was hard to watch. That last quarter and the last 5 minutes, firstly because I was absolutely freezing sitting on the bench. I didn't go and grab a jacket to warm myself up until later, and then knowing that I couldn't do anything to help the boys because they were piling on some goals. So at the end of the day, just extremely happy that we won the game, and now we've put in a really good month of footy. So I'll get the boring bit out because I know you probably don't really want to hear that. So I was extremely frustrated when I knew that I'd hurt my hammy. Bevo spoke earlier throughout the week when they touched on my season and obviously missed round 2 with hammy tightness. But it's just been a bit of an ongoing battle. Not my hammies, but just my body in general. Obviously being a little bit older and being around a little bit longer. Clearly, I've been prone to soft tissue injuries the last couple of years, and I do everything possible to make sure I put myself in a good position to get up and play every week and perform. And, this week was no different. There's so many factors that play into, doing your hammy, whether it's, sore back or the surface of the ground, the fact that it was wet, quick, sharp movement. So in terms of that, it was very disappointing that, I knew that, when I took off and changed direction, I kind of knew that that was about to happen because I could feel it coming. And there's so many things that play in your mind. You think back to, I wish I just kicked the ball rather than trying to take, the game on. And you always question yourself and second guess yourself. But then, then I think, if you're second guessing yourself anyway, you probably should be out there. So, I like to think things always happen for a reason. And, I stay pretty optimistic and positive. And, as with the medical staff and Bevo have spoken about, I think it, hopefully will only be a couple of weeks that I miss, and I can put myself, into the frame to play in a few weeks' time. I'll do all that I can to do that. But yeah, it is very frustrating that I feel like I was putting some really good footy together, and I always seem to hurt myself. Throughout my career, I look back, I always seem to hurt myself when I'm actually playing some really good footy and consistent footy, which is frustrating. But hopefully this isn't too long and I can get out there sooner rather than later.
I was just going to say, talk about frustration, but you see, every time you get injured, everyone's on top of you. The media's on top of you. Like how frustrated and how do you feel about some of those comments? Because, I know I don't want to wind you up or anything, but I just want people to know what it's like from your perspective and how you feel about it. Because I know how I feel about it. When I see that stuff, it's just like, hey, Ads does everything possible for his body, and he's not running out there. It's not a common thing. Like, yes, you look back across your career, you've played a lot of games of football. Mate, you've had an incredible career to date, and it's not as though you're slowing down. So, like, I just want to hear your perspective a little bit.
Yeah, no, thanks, mate. I appreciate that. No, you're right. It is frustrating. Like, I get frustrated when the common talk is about, there's comments where it'll be like the worrying signs, for the rest of Adam's career or whatever it may be. When, I've played 220 games of footy. I've been around for, this is my 11th season. I definitely don't feel like I'm slowing down. As I touched on, I felt like I was playing, this has to start this year off has been right up there as some of the best footy that I've played. I feel like I've been able to change roles multiple times in the last 3 years, at the footy club, and being able to have an impact on the game. So, and the biggest my biggest strengths as a football player is my speed and my ability to get in and out of traffic. And I don't feel like that at all is slowing down. And I feel like, if anything, I was getting better and I felt a lot more relaxed, when I had ball in hand and was making good decisions. So in terms of that, my confidence is no issue at all. But it's, I know that people or media will say that, I'm 30. I've done, 2 to 3 hammies in the last, couple of years that have put me out for a couple of weeks, rather than just the one game here and there. So I can see why they say that. But yeah, as much as I want to fire up and get annoyed about it, I just know that I've been around way too long enough to let it fire me up, because I know, and as you just said, Joshy, how much hard work I put into my body. My first 5-6 years in the AFL was spent doing all the touch, extra weights, doing as much as I can on legs and everything that I can, to probably where it was a detriment to my body because I was just putting so much strain on my body, to then getting to an age where I only really started to learn, really when I met you 2 years ago, where I thought, I've got to stop thinking I've got to do more in terms of touch and extra kicking and whatever it may be, because as you're getting older, you got to be able to manage your body better and look after your body better. So I invested so much time into, buying a sauna for home, getting a hot and cold plunge pool at home, spending heaps of money on a gym at home, having recovery boots, having everything that I can. So now I'm in a strict regime where I get home and I follow the same thing every single day. And it's no coincidence that I still put myself in a position to go out there and still have, speed, still be able to break the line, still be able to do stuff that I was doing 5-6 years ago. I'm not doing what I was doing in terms of, doing extra touch and all this kicking and whatnot, but I'm spending all this time looking after my body, if you know what I mean. And I know you know what I mean, because you're the exact same. So, I think about that in that regard, and I look at it as a good opportunity for me now to, if I'm away for 2 weeks not playing, I'm going to have a good opportunity to reset, look after other niggles that are in my body, put myself in a good frame of mind, and get back and and perform and have an expectation to perform and play the way that I was playing prior to getting injured. So it's a nice little challenge for me. But I'll be doing everything I can to make sure I get up and about in the next couple of weeks.
No doubt you will be, mate. I know that. I know a lot of people would know that. But so what does it look like now for you? I know you don't want to talk about it too much, but how does your week look? Obviously, you're away from the main group. You're in rehab. Just give people a little insight into what your program's like now that you're not in that main group.
Yeah, well, nowadays with hammy injuries, I know back in the day when when people used to do their hamstrings, it was the physios would say, don't run for 3 weeks. And then literally within 3 weeks, you just start training. There's no hamstring sliders and Nordics and hamstring curls and all this extra stuff you do. So we had a running session today, which is 3 days post game. And, I was striding today, doing some running and trying to get the blood flow and whatnot. So, literally I'll just be building up, my running in the next couple of weeks to try and get to a point where I'm pain free and symptom free and I test fine. And that'll be the goal. And, I know my body pretty well. So, this time around, I want to try and spend as much time as I can with the team and, whether it's working with the midfielders or, whatever it may be that they need me, I want to be able to work in some way capacity where I'm helping the guys. Obviously, go and watch the boys play. We've got Carlton this week. So I'll be down there in the rooms against Carlton and trying to do as much as I can to help the guys
in the
and
coach's
support
box,
them.
Mate.
Maybe if the question came the way, I'll sit in the coach's box. But I've heard there's always a few colourful words getting spoken when there's when you're sitting in the box. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to hear that yet. I might wait a couple of years, but no, I'll be doing all that I can to watch the guys and support them and put myself in a good position to play.
Speaking of coaching, is that something that you would look to do post-career? I know you actually jokingly sent me a text the other day saying you might coach the Tassie Devils, as we're going to touch on next. But what do you think?
I said I'll coach and you captain.
Yeah,
quite funny.
Imagine that.
I don't know. What do you reckon? Do you reckon I could coach in some capacity?
I reckon you could coach. I reckon you see the game well enough, mate. I reckon you're a student of the game, as some would say, and the way you see things and the way you can, gather groups of people and just get everyone to enjoy your company is pretty special. Yeah. So,
I appreciate that.
You could be a coach.
Jeez, you're pumping me up this podcast. I'm actually really enjoying this. You must have seen that I've had a long day for. We're starting this podcast unusually late for us because it's been a busy day for me, and you've really put a pep in my step.
I just wanted to get you up and about, mate, because it's injuries are tough, and as we all know, sometimes it's harder than what you can show people, and it's nice to be able to talk to you about it. And it's good. I appreciate the honesty too. I feel like everyone will appreciate the honesty of how you're actually tracking at the moment and. What it looks like moving forward. But we will move on because we don't want to talk about that stuff all the time.
No.
Tassie Devils, like the name?
Well, I wasn't really surprised that it was that because that's what it's been in the TAC Cup and no, not the TAC. It was in the VFL all those years ago. It was the Tassie Devils. So I kind of thought that was just going to be the name anyway.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. There was so many names being thrown around. We were talking about it at the club today, like Tassie Trouts.
Wow.
Tassie Trouts.
No, I actually haven't had any thought on it because I literally just thought straight away it's going to be the Tassie Devils because that's what it's, that's how it's been when they were playing all those years ago.
What about the colours?
It's the green and yellow, right? And there's a bit of brown in there.
Yeah, but that's the old school Tassie Devils. So do they change the colours?
No, I guess I'm going to say no because that's just how I know the Tasmanian, football. That's just what I've always associated those colours with. So I'm going to say no. And I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say that they're probably not going to change it either.
I don't think they will. I think they'll keep the OG kind of setup for sure.
If they're keeping the Tassie Devils, you're not going to change the colour because that's what everyone, associates it with. So what does your old man think? That's a question I want to ask because obviously you said your old man. I reckon if you were to ask Panda, he would have said he's probably the greatest player to ever play in the Tassie League. What's his thoughts on the Tassie team?
Speaking of Panda, BT didn't know who was on the weekend, so he was a bit flat about that one.
I seen that. That was funny.
Oh, so he copped a few messages that night. Straight away, everyone was into him.
That was.
But what would
funny.
he think? Oh, I haven't actually asked him about it. Because he played for North Lonnie.
Well, I would have thought that he'd be a massive fan of it. Hence why I probably asked. But you obviously know a few Tassie guys, so it's pretty cool that it's actually happening. I thought it was going to happen. Yeah. I tried to think back to when the Giants and the Gold Coast were obviously became founded. I'm trying to remember when they were announced and then actually how many years later they were in the league. I could swear it was only a couple of years because I remember it was around the time I was trying to get drafted. I feel like 5 years is – I thought it was going to be a lot closer.
Yeah, well, so did
5 or 6 years, yeah.
2028, 5 years.
5 years, yep.
It is a long time, but I can see why they've done it because I feel like, with the Giants and with the Gold Coast Suns, they were probably rushed into doing all this stuff really quickly.
Yeah.
And, they didn't have their list management team. They didn't have their coaching team all set. Whereas now I think they've got the time to really lay the foundations, build the facility, do all that kind of stuff that when the time comes for that year, like they'll be just ready to go. And you know what's I think is going to be really interesting too is I reckon players from other teams will know that they're going to Tassie in 2028 and it will be announced like NRL style.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good call because probably that's another 5 years down the track. And we seem to want to change things yearly, so that wouldn't surprise me. How would you feel if, say, in 2028, Will Ashcroft, obviously absolute star and will be a star, comes out of contract, have no idea when he is, and he tells you in 2027 that this is his last year at Brisbane, I'm going to play, and then head to Tasmania the following year, but knowing he's playing, like how would you feel? How would you react to that?
I think, to be honest, I think that's fine. Like it's a brand new club. Like I wouldn't see that any differently to what I would say, if someone was asking for a trade at the end of the season. Whereas I feel like with the NRL stuff, how they tell each other, early that year that they're going to go to a competitive team that's, up there. I feel like that's a little bit different. But to be honest, if you're moving to a new team that's never existed before, well, I think that's great because you're helping out. It's almost like you're helping out that football club. What do you think?
Oh, well, I agree. I feel like the fact that you did say that if it was, say he was moving from Brisbane to Collingwood or something down in Melbourne or a big club, it'd be a little bit strange for our sport because we're not used to it. But no, I do agree. Yeah. I agree that it would be, there would be a bit of like, oh, that's a bit weird that you're playing, but you're knowing you're not going to be here. Like, so when we have, AFLPA meetings or talking about the future of, the 3-year plan for the footy club, you're not going to be a part of it. So it's, it is a bit strange in that regard. But wouldn't surprise me if it is actually a thing when the players start to get announced.
What about this next one? Tommy's trying to set us up here, I reckon, for a bit of
he has.
A media spiel. He's gone, let's play a game, would you rather? You can read it out if you want, mate. You can read it out.
Oh, well, the game is would you rather watch North v Saints on TV or watch paint dry? The thing is, my answer is I actually didn't watch any of the game. So all I seen was there was a low score at the end of the game. It was like combined for I think the third or fourth lowest score ever as a total at Marvel Stadium. So I can't really answer that question. What about you?
Yeah. Oh, I can't say I watched the game either. I did see the scores and I was thinking, geez, I'd probably rather watch the Collingwood play the Sydney Swans at the MCG on the Sunday Arvo. But I feel like it's a bit of the Saints tactic at the moment is to just defend teams until they can't score and then they obviously break them, and they've been able to do that over the first few weeks of the season and it's working for them. So I guess if you're looking for wins and losses, wins are obviously what you're after, and they're obviously getting it. So you can't really argue with that much, can you?
Well, if you were, part of the footy club and you're winning games, do you really care how you're winning them? Probably not.
Nope.
Well, I know Ross Lyon probably wouldn't care, and none of the Saints boys would. So that's just another tick for them to get the win. So to answer your question, Tommy, I'm sorry you wanted to get some clickbait, but there's no clickbait here, mate. We're supporting the players. What about one of your teammates, Joshy? I seen this thing that Channel 7 Instagram put up in their Facebook page. They put up Charlie Cameron. We talk about Charlie Curnow and Jeremy Cameron, but in the last 5 games, Charlie Cameron's actually kicked the most goals in the AFL. He's in some red hot form at the moment.
He is, mate. He's flying. You could probably tell that if you walked into our footy club because he's up and about. He's the focal point for everyone at the moment. He's flying, mate. He's a great bloke, which you just one of those guys that's just infectious. When you're around him, like you just can't. If you're in a bad mood or you're coming into the club and you're not feeling so great, like you walk in, you see him, and you just straight away you're up and about, and it's just great. I feel like it's good because he's playing good footy, but he's also putting in the work at the club. So. Setting a great example for a lot of the younger players and even us older players. It's just been great to see him continue on the form that he's had throughout the first few games as well. I thought he played some good footy, and a lot of it's coming off the back of his pressure too, which is obviously something that we thrive for. So really happy for him. But as I said, he's a very up and about character at the moment.
It's funny because we're talking about, obviously earlier in the show, we're talking about my speed and not losing my speed. Talk about speed. This guy, unbelievable. If you give him an inch, he'll take that and then some. He's just, does he practice or like body work and then getting out, or is he just naturally like that?
I haven't seen him practice a lot of his speed stuff. Like we do speed sessions at the club, but yeah, like the freaky stuff that he does on a weekend, I feel like is just natural skill. It's just unbelievable. But he does a lot of weights. Like he's actually very strong. Like if you went on him in a one-on-one, you'd be surprised how strong he is. And I reckon, you see that when he gets in a one-on-one contest, deep inside 50 or whatever, like he can break away with speed, but the strength at first to actually win that contest or halve the contest is very impressive. And sometimes I get into him because he's just doing buys and tries in the gym, but he's actually one of the strongest probably at the club. So it's incredible to see.
Well, it definitely does look like he just does buys and tries because he's got a great set of arms on him, great set of pipes. I think the only one in the AFL that can rival that is probably Scotty Pendlebury. He's got a great set of pipes as well. But I was just looking at the list where it says the last 5 rounds, the top 6 goal kickers. Charlie Cameron's obviously first, but the other 5 are all big key forwards, which makes it even more impressive that he's not even close to their height and weight, but yet he's leading the league in the last 5 rounds in the AFL in goal kicking, which just makes it even more impressive.
Yeah, no, it is. It's unbelievable. Look at that list there. What is it? Charlie Cameron, 23, Jeremy Cameron, 22, Charlie Curnow, 21, Hawkins, 20, Oscar Allen, 15, Taylor Walker, 15. So that's pretty good list of players to be up there and obviously leading.
Do you have a nickname for him? Like, surely there's a nickname for him. I don't want to just call him Charlie. Chuck. So Chuck, is he one of those players where, like for me, obviously, in years to come, I will say that I was able to play with obviously Bont and Pendles and these guys, Toby Green. Mm-hmm. Is he one of those players you chuck in that when you retire, you'll be able to say you played with Charlie Cameron?
Yeah, I think so. I reckon he's. And I saw another thing on the weekend. He's up there with the most consecutive games played. So touch wood.
I've seen that,
but he's very durable too. So yeah, hopefully he's up there with in that statistic as well. But I reckon he's definitely going to be one of the ones that you look back and you're like, wow, I play with Charlie Cameron.
You'd love to have one of those in your team. Absolute star. What about a couple other funny things before we, preview the games on the weekend? Your games you'll be playing. I'll be watching from the stands. Did you see Jai Simpkin? This is something I did see in the North and St Kilda game. Did you see his misconduct fine for ripping the GPS out and throwing it?
Yeah, I don't know how it gets done for misconduct. Like, I saw the action. I saw him do it, and the vision's pretty bad. But I don't even know how you think to do that. To be honest,
no, I know. I feel like he must have. Surely he just went to grab his jumper and then realised it was the GPS bit and just, I'll see you later.
just piffed it. Like it wasn't just a chuck it on the ground. He's just piffed it across. My shoulder would pop out if I tried to do that.
Yeah, it was quite funny. It's funny that that now that's considered misconduct. But well, there you go. Would you have fought the fight if it was you?
Yeah, probably. I don't think it's worth a fine, is it? It's just.
I don't know. I mean, what's probably worse? Throwing a GPS unit or someone's boot coming off and throwing the boot?
I would probably say none of them. I wouldn't find any of them.
Well, what's worse out of that? I feel like throwing a boot would be worse.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. More dangerous.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
But a GPS is quite hard, I guess. It's like a little missile.
I mean, you know how they have the Telstra tracker? Is that tracked by the GPS? Is that the club GPS giving the details, or how does the AFL? Yeah. Okay.
So his high speed would have been pretty high that game, you would think.
Was there anything else that may have surprised you, or anything else you want to talk in terms of the round, in terms of other teams?
I just want to talk about. I know it's a talking point. I just don't understand some of the situations that are happening now when guys are, it's accidentally hitting someone in the head with a spoil, or it's so hard. Like I feel like it's so harsh these days. And Van Rooyen got 2 weeks for his hit, and it's not even an action where he's trying to come back and hit him in the head. Like I don't really understand that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a hard one because clearly the AFL is clearly making a stand in wanting to protect the player and the player's head. That I understand. Like I get it. I get that any contact to the head or any, I guess, dangerous action or movement to the opposition player, they're gonna, clearly fine you or worse, suspend you. I get it, but it's hard. I mean, you look back, it's funny because I always tell you, I series link or series record games in the off season that are played. They might be, games of the 2000s, 2010s. I go back and watch some of those games, even in 2010s, and there's plays where nowadays you'd be getting 5-6 weeks for it. So it is hard. I mean, the Bradley Close one where I think he got suspended or got a 1 week suspension initially. That one was a bit hard because it's kind of like, what's he meant to do? Like, there's not much you can do there. I felt like, the tackle looked good. Obviously, the player, I'm not sure, I might have been Jordan Dawson got tackled. I'm not sure who it was, but I can see why they want to look after the player getting tackled, and I get it. I totally get it. It's just, it's going to be so hard to umpire or see going forward because there's so much uncertainty at the moment.
And even Rioli's one on Ridley, he was going back to block and his arms just lifted. He's accidentally got him in the eye.
Yeah.
And he's gone off with concussion. So because he's gone off with concussion, that's the only reason he's sent straight to the tribunal.
Mate,
that's insane, man.
Yep. That's the as I said, the AFL clearly cracked down on players getting hits to the head, and you can understand it though, right? You get it. You get why it's happening.
I get it.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's so stiff for those players that are, especially if it's an accident, and we're taught to go back with the flight and do as much as you can to make a contest or block for an opponent, a teammate to get someone out, things like that. And then all of a sudden now we're just missing games of football because imagine someone missing out on, a Brownlow medal if they did something like that. I don't think that's right. So
I now that you've said that, it being an accident, you can see clearly, in my opinion, watching the Van Rooyen one, I feel like clearly there was no intention to hurt. Was it Ballard? It was Charlie Ballard, wasn't it? It was no intention at all from what I seen that he wanted to hurt him. So in terms of that, I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. Speaking of Brownlow, I seen this thing get suggested the other day. I want to know what you think. Do you feel like, depending on the incident, so say someone's just turned around and clocked someone and knocked him out, that's fair. Suspended for however long, you can't win the Brownlow. But say it is like, an incident like Bradley Close's tackle on the weekend. He misses 1 week or however long he missed. Do you feel like there was a thing raised where it shouldn't be stripped of the Brownlow anymore? It should be maybe you get minus a vote. Maybe you lose a vote or 2 votes. It gets stripped of you. If you're on, say you're on 3 votes up until that point, you get suspended, you lose 2 votes. In the NRL, I know that if you get suspended, you get minus votes. It's not you can't ineligible. You just get minus votes. So what do you think? What would your thought be?
Well, this is the thing. Like, I feel like we could just every year we go on and we talk about new things that come up and we're changing the rules. Like, if we go and change this, then you've got to go back through the whole entire history of the Brownlow medal and go through all the votes, because there'd be some players that would win it that were ineligible. Or
yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just wish that, I wish we'd leave the game alone and just appreciate it for what it is, to be honest.
Yeah, true. I've seen it getting floated and suggesting that it should only, depending on the severity, should just be maybe a minus vote, or you should still be eligible. So it's an interesting one. No doubt it'd probably be considered in years to come, because anything that gets spoken about in the media and in the spotlight, something always seems to happen.
Yeah, it does. It's a big thing. I reckon if the commentators are straight onto the incident, then you're gone. You might as well pack your bags, to be honest. Like, I just feel like the way that they perceive it straight away, it's like, oh, is he in trouble there? And then someone will say, yep.
Yep. Totally agree. What about one other thing before we preview the game, your game? Kudos to you, because you said last week on the potty that you reckon Sydney's going to probably come after Nick Dacos. And you're right. They came after him.
I told you, mate. I told you. I knew exactly that. John Longmire, know what he's like. Know him personally and as a coach, obviously. And I just knew. I just had a feeling that they would send someone to. And Ryan Clark was the one too. He came in. They actually picked him to do that role. So it was I mean, the first 10 minutes of that game. Did you see how many fines were out of that melee at the start there?
Yeah, I did. I seen there was quite.
There was about 10 fines. There was about 15K of fines in that.
It was,
little melee.
it was good. It was good. I'll tell you what I do love is I love when players fly the flag, and I've got to give him a shout out. There's none better than Braden Maynard. He's someone you want in your team. Bruzzy. He's just right up there as one of the greatest teammates I've had. He always just flies the flag no matter what. He always sticks up for his teammates, and kudos to Bruzzy. But yeah, you're right. You were spot on. Do you reckon it's something that opposition teams will do going forward?
Did it work? Probably.
Well,
probably not.
I think teams probably care more about the result rather than how the player goes. So did it work? I'd probably say no, because obviously Collingwood still ended up winning.
And I feel like they were on top for most of the game. There was a period there, I think through the second or the third quarter, that Sydney looked really good, and I thought that they probably could have been up by more. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Dacos stuff, I reckon we've talked about it on here a little bit, is it's got to be a team focus for mine. I feel like the teamwork that you put into him rather than just having one guy, because it can break you apart too in defense and stuff like that, because he does run to a lot of places where he's going to get the football. You know how early on in people's careers they can be talked about and there's so much hype about the certain player, and then all of a sudden it sort of starts to, it might affect them, mentally, physically, but do you reckon that Dacos can hold his form throughout his entire career? Like, is he that type of player?
Well, you can only go off what we've seen, and I feel I'm going to say yes. Yeah, I'm just going to say yes. I feel like he seems to take it all in his stride. He's already achieved so much already. I mean, from the outside looking in, he's probably leading the Collingwood best and fairest. He's obviously won an Anzac medal already. He's the favourite for the Brownlow, right up there with Bonty. And it's like, years are going to go down the track and expectations going to be on it. It's going to be at a point, it'll probably get to a point where his average game, where he gets criticised, will be probably as good as 85% of the league, 90% of the league's game. It's probably going to get to a point like that. So Yeah,
Yep.
it's funny because we seem to bring up obviously Nick Dacos every week, and hopefully he listens to the potty. I know I spent a couple weeks with him when I was at Collingwood, and I know he's got along with him really well. So hopefully he listens to the potty and the shout outs we give him quite a bit. But yeah, I can see him having obviously a unbelievable career, and no doubt we'll probably talk about him next week. Well, we'll preview your game then. Talk us through it. Your game, got the Dons this week. How you feeling?
It's going to be good. I think they've showed some great form. I think, obviously being up against the Pies by 4 or 5 goals at 3/4 time, and even on the weekend going over to Adelaide and taking it right up to Port. I think they'll be we say it every week, but that you can't take any team lightly, and obviously playing them at home. But for us, it's the same approach. Looking forward to the challenge. We looked at them a bit today, and their work around the stoppages has been very impressive. Centre bounce especially. I think they're number 1 in the league for scores from centre bounce. So going to have to be on our game in there and try and stop them from getting out the front of stoppages and getting it deep into their forwards. But yeah, really looking forward to the challenge. Obviously, it's another one for us where we're looking to take a scalp, and I feel like we bring our energy and our heat and our pressure. It's going to hold us in good stead. But like I said, it's going to be a great game of football, and I think it's Saturday night, same time as you boys, so I won't be able to watch that game. You're not playing though, so that's all right. I just like to watch you. Archie, sorry, that's me dog in the background.
That's all right, mate. I would have thought you probably wouldn't have watched the game, but what about your role? Do you feel like, I probably already know the answer because I feel like the reason why you went to Cripps a bit is because you match up well against him. Darcy Parish is obviously the first guy that I think of at the Bombers. Zach Merritt as well, who's obviously a gun as well. But I think Darcy Parish's form has been really good to the point where you're probably going to have to, whether it's a team thing or you go to him at stoppage, is there something that you could probably potentially see happening, or you just worry probably the midfield group as a whole looks after him?
Yeah, I mean, probably midfield group as a whole. I haven't been told this week that I'm going to anyone, mate. So last week was a little bit earlier in the week, and I probably knew by now that I was going to go to Cripper. Probably wouldn't have announced it though on the podcast. But
don't do that. Don't do that.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, as we touched on, they've got Parish and Merritt and Stringer. I mean, Jakey Stringer's been pretty good for him around the stoppages as well, and Dylan Shield. They've got a lot of mids that go through there. So yeah, it'll be a collective approach, and we'll look to. Obviously, I don't mind the challenge of going to their best mid at the time in the stoppages. You probably know that. We've talked about it, when we've come up against the Ds and stuff, that, we try and line ourselves up on the ones that are going well, because it's a great challenge for us individually. So I like to really work off someone, and whether that's Parish or the others that we talked about, we'll wait and see. But yeah, as I touched on, I think it'll be more of a group approach this week.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's going to be a ripping game. I said last week that it's probably going to be a battle of the midfield against Carlton. I definitely feel like this week it's probably going to be a battle of the midfield. But I'm just I'm hoping and praying that you hit the scoreboard, because I want to see that A getting shown, and yeah, you just kicking a goal for the footy club would be a really special moment for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I can't wait to hopefully get it this weekend. But let's talk about your game. Obviously, you'll be on the sidelines, but hopefully in the coach's box. I'd love to see you in the coach's box, to be honest. Talk about, the challenge with the Blues obviously rolling off. And, you guys were there in round 2 after a disappointing loss to the Saints. The media's all over them. How do you reckon the boys are going to take themselves into their camp, or take themselves back to how they were feeling in round 2 and really expecting the Blues to come out with a lot of heat?
Oh, well, I feel like that's a given. We know they're going to come out with heat, because you know what it's like when you're in Melbourne, and there's always, it seems to be a different club at different stages throughout the year, depending on how they're going. And we obviously copped it quite a bit after round 2, and the only thing you do is let your footy do the talking. So we know Carlton are now in that boat, because here in Melbourne, they're you're getting spoken about, and getting challenged externally from media outlets and all the experts. So absolute no doubt at all they're going to come out absolutely firing. I know they didn't win on the weekend, but they play Marvel really well. And you just got to look at, some of the players that they have on their team and on their list, and you give them a chance, they're going to absolutely get a hold of you. And, we know it's going to be a huge challenge for us. Something that I think we've not lacked, because we had periods of good footy last year and this year. We've had, times where we won a couple games and then we really fell off and didn't perform well. And, we've had 2 really good wins. And, I said earlier, we've had a really good month of footy. We've won, I think, 5 of our last 6. We obviously lost to Port over there, but that was really close. This is a really, really good opportunity to start building, or to keep building momentum against another really good opposition. Me personally, I fully expect Carlton to, get back to playing how they're playing and what they're capable of, and, really competing for a top 8 spot. So we see that as a really, really challenging test for us, and a really great opportunity for us to come up against a team that is, I believe, as I said, going to be there come the pointy end of the season. So, it's something that we're really embracing and taking in our stride. We love playing at Marvel. It's something that we cherish, that we get to do. We get to, the conditions, it's going to be a fast track. You're going to have to defend really well, because teams can score really heavily at Marvel. So, I'm extremely excited for the boys. Yes, I wish I was out there playing, but I'm extremely excited to see, how we match up. We're going to have to really play, well in the midfield. We talk about Cripps and obviously off the back of last week's game, I know he's going to want to come out and really set himself for a big game. So it's a challenge for us to nullify him. Chera, Sam Walsh, these guys that go through there, guys that we're going to have to, be able to nullify and hurt the other way. Charlie Curnow and Mackay are 2 great forwards of our competition. So there's, and historically we've been challenged by them, by their forwards. I know last year Charlie Curnow got a hold of us. The year before, Charlie Curnow got a hold of us as well, and Harry Mackay bobbed up and kicked 4 or 5. So I feel like it's a challenge that we're really preparing for, and something that, we're going to be really set for, and, one that I'll be absolutely restless, sitting there wherever I am. Won't be in the coach's box, I can guarantee that, but sitting there restless, wishing I was out there, but, fully confident that we'll hopefully get the job done.
Does anyone go to Cripper again like I did last week, or not sure?
I'm not sure. I feel like, I honestly don't know. I feel like Bonte matches up really well against him, and knowing Bont, he'll probably want to, probably take that challenge and, go to him, because they're obviously the 2 premier players in each of the midfield. So maybe, but, we generally take that, whole midfield group approach, and see if someone does get off the chain, then probably go to them. So we're just hoping that, we can do what we do and hope that none of them get off the chain, and we can just, win the game. That'd be nice. So, really, really preparing. I think the group's preparing really well for this game, and we're going to definitely get up for it, because we know they're going to come and want to knock us off.
Nah, for sure, mate. Looking forward to checking the results of that game after mine, because we played exactly the same time, I think.
I guess
surely you'll be watching my game.
I was going to say, mate, the beauty of being injured, if there's one thing, I can watch my phone and watch you, and then obviously watch the boys. So hopefully there's another win-win for both of us. But there's no other games you want to preview? We're done with footy for the week?
Yep, we're done with footy, mate. Let's move on.
Well, it's obviously what we absolutely love talking about, the NBA. Where do we begin? We'll start with LeBron and Steph. The Lakers and Golden State. It's funny how we go straight to LeBron and Steph rather than Lakers and Golden State.
Franchises.
Yep. So obviously Game 4 was today, and I was surprised. I swear everything I've said on the potty has just been wrong. I need to just stop with all the NBA predictions. I came out and I was very sure that Golden State matched up way better against Lakers than what they did against Sacramento, and they're currently 3-1 down.
I said the opposite.
I know you did.
Said the opposite.
I know you did. So did you watch the game today?
I watched a bit of the game today. We were at the club for most of the day, but I was watching it. Lockie Neal's a Golden State fan, so he was shattered. Mate, Lonnie Walker in the last quarter just dominated.
Yeah, well, he scored 15 points for the game, and 15 points came in the last quarter. And he's the first Laker to do that off the bench in a playoff game since Kobe Bryant in 1997. That's a pretty cool pretty cool stat. It's pretty cool company to be a part of. But I mean, mate, that's why they got Lonnie Walker. He's a scorer. He's just a scorer in this league. You know, when you talk about role players and what you need to do, he just needs to come on and score. And the fact that he did in that last quarter, and I seen LeBron today post game say something like, "We wouldn't have won if it wasn't for Lonnie," and that's pretty cool coming from the second greatest player of all time.
The second greatest player. I love it.
I'll always say it, mate. Second greatest player of all time.
What does it play out like here? Like from here, sorry.
Well, should I have a suggestion? Because the opposite's going to happen.
Yeah, have a suggestion, mate. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so just have a suggestion and we'll go with the opposite.
Okay, well, I'm just not counting out the Warriors. I don't really care what anyone says. Next game's in Golden State. I feel like they'll win that. And then it's back to LA, which will be, that will be really hard if they could somehow beat that and go to a game 7. My prediction is Golden State to come back and win.
Oh, so you want to know mine?
Well, I already know because you said Lakers last week. So
Lakers, yeah, but I'm saying Lakers in 7.
Oh, so you reckon it'll go to 7?
Golden State for the next 2, win the next one at home, come back to LA, win in LA, and then Lakers in game 7 take it out. That's my prediction.
Well, yeah, you seem to be right. It's not like I live and breathe NBA and NFL all the time, but that's all right. I seem to get it wrong all the time. I mean, I've got LeBron and Kobe in the background. I got a Russell Westbrook thing, and I got a cupboard full of NBA jerseys, but I get it wrong all the time. That's just me.
Well, you just been no good in the 2023 playoffs, mate. 22,
well,
23.
That's not true because I predicted Miami, and in the other series when Phoenix were down, obviously 2-0, I did say Phoenix will come back and win. Not that they've won yet, but it's 2-2. So it's currently a really good series, and that's the one I'm watching closely because obviously KD plays there.
How's Big Jock Landale? Absolutely flying at the moment. He's doing us proud, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, which commentator is it? I don't know which one it is. One of the big commentators over there was saying in the last quarter, you need to get Ayton off and need to play Jock because he's just dominating, absolutely dominating. And he is. You watch him play. He just adds so much versatility. I feel like he defends really well, and then when he gets his opportunity to score and get those putbacks and whatnot, he does that really well. So he's been really good.
I've watched a few of those games, and he's been actually playing that role really well. You talked about Denver and Phoenix. What about the MVP race? We've talked about this last week. We knew that it was coming out the day after. What are your thoughts?
Oh, my gut feel was saying Embiid because it'd been spoken about and the voter fatigue in Jokic winning all the time. I felt like they didn't want Jokic to win again, and Giannis for that matter. So that doesn't surprise me. Embiid deserves it, thoroughly deserves it. Him or Jokic deserved it. My opinion was Jokic probably should have won, and I know it's a regular season award, but I just look at the postseason, right? Embiid's been good, but James Harden right now has been Philly's most important player and their best player. Obviously, Embiid didn't play game 1, and Harden carried them to the win. And then Harden 2 days ago hits the game winner, drops 42, beats them, takes it to a game 5. Series is 2-2. So that series could go either way. My gut is saying Celtics, but if Harden keeps playing the way he's playing, I can't see them losing. Who do you think wins that?
I've got Celtics 4-2 in that series. Yeah, they win the next 2. But I think the 76ers have been very good. And as you touched on, James Harden, mate, it's just flying. Like, I feel like he's picked up his game a lot during the playoffs. And, we talked about Jimmy Butler. I reckon he's sort of been waiting for that moment, and he's sort of trying to be the man now too, which is, hey, did you see Harden buy a Rolex for Embiid?
Yes.
That was so
the
cool.
MVP Rolex. And did you see Harden invite that fan onto the court and took him to a game? I think he had a unfortunate accident over in thing, and he got invited, and unreal, incredible for someone to do that of that. How big Harden is as a person and whatnot. That is incredible to see that. So kudos to him. But no, before we move on from the MVP, that's what I was saying. So my point is, you take Embiid out of that team, Philly still get the job done because Harden got it. Not saying they'll win in 7, but Harden still got him a game. Jokic, on the other hand, he's the only like Jamal Murray's playing well, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, but he's the only reason why they are anywhere where they are. He's that good. In my opinion, he is the MVP of the league, easily.
How's KD saying? He puts up shots and he just looks like it's missing, but it just goes in.
I was saying to someone today, he's the most unathletic, unmobile, looks unfit. He's not the biggest and strongest, look-wise, but he's just incredible. Yeah, so in terms of the MVP, wasn't surprised that Embiid won, but my pick would have been Jokic.
So you're staying with the Suns for that series. How many games? Game 7? Does it go to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think 7. Yeah. Yep.
I got Nuggets 4-2.
Oh, wow. So they'd have to win in Denver and then back to Phoenix. So that's a big one. I just think the way KD and Devin Booker are scoring, I mean, if you've really watched this series, it's almost like every game is an all-star game because the offense is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, they are hitting shots that is just you do not see. And it's an all-star game with all defense-level defenders. It's just unbelievable. It's a great series to watch at the moment, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, hoping KD and the Suns get up.
And you think the Heat get over the Knicks in the end?
Oh, yeah, they go 3-1 up today. Jimmy Butler's just doing his thing, which is just incredible. And, yeah, I can't see them losing from there. What about the Boomers squad got released today?
I saw that. It's actually it's a legit squad, isn't it? Looks good.
Oh, if we don't finish top 3 or medal or whatever it is, I will be that surprised because the players that we have, we were able to bronze at the Olympic Games where we bronzed recently in that couple of years ago with the team that we had then. We pretty much have a lot of the same players, but obviously different players. But you chuck in, Josh Green, who wasn't playing. You chuck in Josh Giddey, who is one of the best young players in the league. Dante Exum, chuck him into the lineup. That guy that you love. I remember you told me about him one time. Pinder. Can't say his first name, but you told me about him one time. How good he is.
Pinder.
And, yes. He's there. You've got Jack White, your mate Jack White, who's obviously NBA caliber player, Matisse Thybulle, Jock Landale, Von Maker, who's still more than capable. But there's one name that's obviously not there, who we talk about, Ben Simmons.
I have heard the coach come out and say that he thinks that he'll be there. But I don't understand how he's not in this squad. Like, how is he not in this squad if he's going to be there?
I don't know. I just feel like honestly, the way he obviously had been playing prior to that, there's probably players that you just probably would choose ahead. Maybe it's a nice way in saying that we're just not picking him because those players are probably better to pick. If you get Ben Simmons back to the way that he was and you chuck him into that lineup, I mean, that is top 3 worthy. Top 3 worthy.
Well, we'll move on now to the big one, the signed boots competition, mate.
Yes.
So obviously we talked about it last week, and thanks to everyone that's put their comments in. We've had a flick through and read all of them. Some great ones that actually got sent in. Some funny ones too that we had a bit of a laugh at. To be honest, it was there's a few on there I didn't really like, to be honest, actually. But it was good. It was a great process, and obviously gave it a shout out on Friday Night Footy as well. So that was pretty cool. Thanks to Abby Holmes. We should mention her because she looked after me before I went on. I was like, Abby, can you ask me about the podcast because I want to pump up our boots competition, and she did. So thanks to her.
And our little group chat that we had was going nuts because we absolutely loved it.
I did see that one. I got my phone after the game. But no, so without further ado, I will announce mine. So I've got my one here. You've got yours, Adzi.
I do. You start us off.
I'll start us off. So I've got Archie Allen. I'll read out the comment. He's gone, lads, in the time of adversity came fortune. Seeing your friendship blossom while the off-field dramas were at an all-time high with COVID, was a beacon of light for the competition and my personal well-being. I personally fell in love with your banter and chemistry, and you guys are a joy to listen to each week. Great footballers, better people. Keep at it, and bigger things will come. With a line emoji. So that was mine. Thoughts on that, mate? You like that one?
Loved it. I actually seen it, and it was something that I considered until I see the line emoji. So I moved on. But no, I feel like that is very nice. As you said, the comments that I read and you obviously read, very nice. I'm glad that people enjoy listening to us talk rubbish and think that we know everything about footy and NBA and just sport in general. So very happy. What about, before I mention mine, what boots do you have? And give us a bit of an insight on the boots.
I've got these ones. They're the red Tiempos. You can see there. Hang on, if I get it in the middle. So these ones I actually wore at the Doggies plenty last year.
Yep.
I wore them a lot of times at Marvel Stadium. There's a lot of pictures probably that you could find, I think, against Hawthorn and the likes. So I just had them in the cupboard, mate, and I just thought I'd get them out. And they're probably one of the last pairs of boots that I wore for the Bulldogs. So there you go. But it's still signed by me, and obviously Brisbane Lions player now. So a Lions fan hopefully gets those boots, which is great.
Well done, mate. I'm sure they'll be cherished. My one. So I have. I went through obviously all the comments, and there was some very nice ones. As I said, really focused in on the Bulldogs ones, obviously, because they're the ones who wanted my boots. And I came to the conclusion that I chose at Jacob Langham 6292, and he has said, I love how in today's world where hyper masculinity is championed, you've got two best mates, kings of their craft, sports people who are able to be vulnerable, honest, and affectionate to one another. In Aussie society where blokes feel the need to pot each other and bring one another down, you two champion each other and are one another's big supporters. You're creating a safe space for younger men to learn that mates don't need to bring each other down and embrace tall poppy syndrome, but rather lift each other up. Keep doing the good work, boys. Love the potty, with a doggy emoji. So Jacob Langham 6292, you're the one I've chosen. The boots I've got are the Tiempos as well, the pink ones. I wore these quite a bit. They're some of me. These were one right up there as my favourite coloured boots. I mentioned to you earlier in a potty, the white and green tick. They were my favourite boots, but these were right up there. So the last time I wore these was actually in the elimination final last year. I actually changed boots throughout the game, but in, I think, the first quarter I wore them, and it was actually Dunks' last game as a Western Bulldogs player as well. So there's a bit of added specialness to it. So congratulations, Jacob. Thanks for sending the comments. All the winners will be contacted by the American Aces YouTube account. So, from there, obviously the details you'll find out. But congratulations to our winners, and thanks for sending in all your comments. It's greatly appreciated.
Yep. Well said, mate. It's a great thing, and we're going to look to do it a lot across the year. So keep an eye out and keep listening to the podcast, because there'll be many competitions that we're going to look to run, and we want to get all our fans involved, and thank you for all your support too. So thank you again. As Adzi said, the American Aces YouTube account will, I think Tommy's going to comment back to you, because we don't want scammers or anything getting involved here. So make sure make sure that it's us reaching out to you, and then Adzi and I will personally send them out. We might write a little letter and thank you for your support to the winners. So congratulations to those winners. I think that's it, mate.
Before we conclude, we were going to do this at the end, but I want to do it now. I just want to give a shout out to all the mothers out there. Obviously, Mother's Day coming up. I'm going to shout out to my mum, Darlene. Love you very, very much. I know you listen to our potty all the time. She obviously loves you too, Joshy. And hope you have a terrific day. I also going to wish Kimmy happy Mother's Day. You know how much I love you. Georgie loves you. So hope you guys have a terrific day.
Yeah, well said, mate. And obviously to my mum, Lisa, she'll probably be listening. She's probably actually more likely to watch it, to be honest.
I love that.
Getting her on the YouTube channel, mate. So happy Mother's Day, Lacey. Love you lots. And, always thinking of you from afar. So hope you have a great day. And it's actually going to be the day after Tipper and Lara and Kimmy all play against each other, mate. So looking forward to that result. We might have to talk about that next week. But
yeah, we will talk about that. But it's been good, mate.
It's been good. Another episode. So thanks everyone for listening again to the Ads and Dunks podcast. Proudly brought to you by Ausmerican Aces. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to all our channels, social media, everything. Because when if you want to be the first to find out about anything that happens on the Ads and Dunks podcast, you got to do that. Otherwise, you won't. So thanks again. We look forward to seeing you all next week for another episode.